In this modern age,
Perfect.
too many people have lost sight of the true meaning of Christmas.
Mom!
Hush! Shut up, Ralphie!
So now, in the spirit of the original,
I need you! Stop!
traditional, American Christmas,
Thanks a lot!
MGM presents A Christmas Story.
A Christmas Story. Well, now that it's December and another season of the 12 days of reviews. So yay, we're now back at it. So, A Christmas Story. So, I basically, I don't want to necessarily say that I grew up watching this, but at the same time I kind of did. Because I would watch it every year up to a certain point of my age. Because once TBS and TNT decided on Christmas they were going to do a 24-hour broadcast of this movie, that's when I started getting like, nope, I'm just going to just tune out. I'm just like, all right. And yeah. It definitely turned from, the first time I saw this, I was like, okay, it's a good movie. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a great movie, but it's definitely it's a fun movie. It turned from that into just kind of like, all right, this is kind of repetitive. Like, can we move on, please? And unfortunately, that's where I stand with this. So, if you've never heard of A Christmas Story, it's pretty simple. It's a kid who lives with his family, and all he wants for Christmas is I forget what it was called. It was basically a BB gun, and that's all he wants for Christmas. But everyone keeps telling him like, no, you're not going to get that because you'll shoot your eye out, kid. So then it just becomes more and more other stuff besides that, and a lot of stuff that's just kind of like really quick and like, okay, so we're done with this side plot, okay, we're moving on. So it is kind of like we're just gonna just throw random things in here and see if it sticks, and a lot of it does stick, but like I said, after TBS and TNT just started doing the 24 hours thing for Christmas, it was just like, okay, guys, can just stop, please, just stop. And yeah, it's kind of like I said, they took a good movie and just turned it into kind of not necessarily unbearable, but just like, it's like, can you guys just like pull it back a little bit? So I mean, I don't hate the movie now. I definitely don't. I do still appreciate it for like being in pop culture and being a classic Christmas movie. But at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, what are you doing here? It's like, okay, like I saw it. I really even when I was a kid and I saw this, after I watched it for the first time, I was just like, I don't really have the urge to go back and rewatch this again. And at that point, I didn't see Die Hard yet. I didn't see The Ref. I think I did see Nightmare Before Christmas, but there was like all these other Christmas movies that I now like watch every year. Like I said, with Die Hard and The Ref, I watch those every year. With this, it was just kind of like, all right, now I found these other movies. This can kind of get tired, and I don't know, like occasionally, like I'll watch this movie like around the holidays, but I really don't have the urge to go and watch it again, because I was going like, after the few times I did rewatch it, I'm just like, yeah, okay, there's really, to me, a few moments in here that I would watch, kind of like how I feel about like Freddy vs. Jason, where it's like I would really only watch the scenes where the two of them are together, because outside of that, the movie's not very good. Here, it's kind of like I'll watch the funny moments, but everything else I could just brush aside and just go like, fast forward. So it's, yeah, it's just like, okay. So I liked the acting. Um, Still, some of the what's still kind of funny is I still every now and then when I see something that says fragile on it, I'll always say fragile, and people will either look at me and say that says fragile, and they'll understand it, but sometimes people will think like I'm an absolute nitwit and just be like, "What can? Are you okay? Did you just have a stroke?" And it's just like, so you haven't seen like consider like the most like pop not necessarily popular, but more of like the most watched or more the more recognized Christmas movie, or at least one of them. And yeah, people were just like, oh yeah, that's right. So it's and some of the moments are still funny to me, like the father getting the leg lamp. Like, to me, that's still kind of funny. It's also still kind of funny to me that they burn their turkey on Christmas, so they go to a Chinese restaurant and get served a duck, and it's basically just it's dead, but they just served it on a platter right to them, and they're just like, the duck's smiling at me. So they just quickly just chop off the head right in front of them. And it's that like really quick and fast jokes that it's just like, okay, that's actually kind of funny, but that's kind of shocking. And yeah, it's shockingly funny. And so there's still those moments in there for me, but like I said, I really would only watch like clips of the movie that I like the most, because outside of that, I'm just like, okay. I mean, it's still funny to like see the scene where they're trying to fix the tire and Ralphie says fudge, but he didn't actually say fudge, and it's still kind of funny because we've all been through that where we've accidentally said a swear word and in front of your parents, and you're just like, oh, like I'm dead. Or in this case, you get a bar of soap in your mouth, which just luckily I never had that growing up, because once I saw the movie and I'm just like, is that really what it was like? When I asked parents, they're just like, yep. And I'm like, oh, gross. Like, that's just nasty. So there's still those moments in there where they feel real. Like I said, with you accidentally slipping out a swear word in front of your parents, or, especially like where you're getting bullied and you finally you fess up to the bully, or you just beat them down, but you're like Ralphie's saying like, you stupid, like basically saying like kitty words, like like you duty head, like all that stuff, but in actuality all the kids are just standing behind the gate just like watching him, and they're all shocked because he's like, oh, he's not actually saying those words, he's actually swearing. So it's because you have that pumped up rage in you, like all that built up rage inside you, that you just have to let it out. And sometimes it means letting it out physically, but sometimes swearing, and it happens. So there's an added level of realism to the movie that I do like. And, I do, it does definitely say like, this is just, a kind of lower class family. Like, they're just getting by. They really aren't, the greatest, but, they're being protective parents. So it feels very real. So it's very like down to earth. It feels very realistic, with both like the house and then Ralphie's experience with dealing with everything around him. It all just feels real, and even like the most famous scene of the movie where he goes to meet Santa at the mall, all the kids are just crying, because I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I saw in the mall every year, is I just saw kids crying because they did not want to be on Santa. and it's just it's real, and I'm like, okay, cool, but that's a nice added level to this. So at the end of it all, do I still think this is a good movie? Yes. Is it a great movie? Not really. Is it overplayed? Absolutely. And that's part of the problem I have, is that it's just overplayed. Honestly, there's now 2 movies the last couple of years that I think are super overplayed that need to stop. And this is one of them, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one. Elf. 2 very overplayed movies. They need to pull it back. And yeah, it's like, okay, like, can you guys just knock that off, please? Because now you're just kind of making a good movie just kind of like, all right, we've seen this like for the millionth time today, so it's like whatever. So I think at the end of the day, this gets an average. Like I said, I think it's a good movie. It's not a great one, but it's a movie where I think everybody has seen it, whether you've seen it in your childhood, whether you saw it on TBS or TNT on Christmas. And, I think it's one of those movies where it's like, okay, if you watch it once in your life, it's like, all right, you don't necessarily need to watch it again, but, I don't think it'll kill you to watch it another time.
Oh, wow.
And unwraps the secrets
Didn't I get a tie this year?
of the original, traditional,
He looks like a deranged Easter bunny.
100% two-fisted, red-blooded,
It's smiling at me.
all-American Christmas. A Christmas Story.